All right. I think I might be live. Just gonna double check. Yay. Okay. So earlier this week, I posted this little thing that said, if you could choose one, what would it be? Lose weight, get stronger, feel better, and look toned. So just wanted to put that out there because this is also why protein is so important for women over 40, because it can address all of these things in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not 100%, but it will definitely help. So what's the beef? Today, we're going to just talk about why everyone talks about protein. If you have ever done any kind of diet before, they typically all include some sort of increase in protein. And the other macronutrients, it depends. We'll also talk about what are essential amino acids, what are some good protein sources, how much protein should I have, and also what are BCAAs. So why is protein important for women over 40? First and foremost, as I've mentioned many times, due to our decrease in our sex hormones, our estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, we are actually losing muscle mass if we aren't doing something about it. So as we're getting older, that muscle mass is just declining, and there can be a condition present called sarcopenia. So we want to make sure that we are avoiding that in ways, as many ways as we can, by consuming adequate protein. Can definitely help prevent severe muscle mass loss, and it can also support muscle growth, definitely muscle repair and maintenance. So as I said, for women over 40, maintaining muscle mass is a challenge to begin with, and we want to maintain that muscle mass because it does help with our mobility, our strength, and just our overall functional independence. Secondly, again, as I mentioned, most diets will include some form of increase in protein because it does help foster a faster metabolism and helps with your body composition. As we are aging, our metabolism does tend to slow down. And if we're not altering our dietary habits appropriately, it can lead to weight gain. Protein has a higher thermic effect of food compared to carbohydrates and fats, which means it requires more energy to just digest, break down, and absorb protein into our bodies. So with that increase in the thermal effect of food, it can actually boost our metabolism and help with managing our weight by also promoting a feeling of fullness, and will help you potentially prevent overeating. Number 3, helps with bone health. Osteoporosis, as I believe I had spoken about last week, is a condition that's characterized by weak and brittle bones. And that is also more common as people age, particularly for those of us in menopause. And protein is an essential component of bone health. So it helps us strengthen our bones, it helps us build our bones. And if we combine that with adequate amounts of calcium and vitamin D intake, protein, an increase in protein can contribute to maintaining our bone density and also reducing the risk of fractures. Obviously, when we are approaching perimenopause and going through menopause, we are having hormonal changes. Adequate protein intake can support hormone production and regulation, which can also play a role in managing symptoms associated with menopause, such as mood swings and, again, changes in metabolism. So just one more reason to implement and be aware of your protein intake during this time. Also helps with immune function. Protein is important for maintaining a strong immune system, which also becomes more crucial as we are getting older. It's going to help us protect against illnesses and infections that will have more severe consequences as we are aging. And then the last one is skin and hair health. So protein is a key component of skin and hair cells, and it can support the health and appearance of our skin and hair, which may be impacted by hormonal changes and other age-related changes. As I'm going through this, if you have any questions, if you're watching this live or you're watching this on the replay, just feel free to put the comments or questions in the comments below, and I will answer them if there are any after this, or even later. If you see this on a replay, you can certainly drop some comments below. So what are essential amino acids? So there are 20 different amino acids that can be combined in various different ways to create different proteins within our bodies. The essential amino acids are the building blocks of the proteins, and they are essential for plenty of functions in our body. There are 9 essential amino acids specifically, and we cannot produce them on our own, so they have to be obtained through our diet. Oops, let me just scroll up a little bit or scroll down. There we go. And this is the 9 that are essential here. I'm not even going to try to pronounce them, but just for your knowledge, these are the 9 essential amino acids. Where do I get the essential amino acids from? They are mostly coming from animal products. So meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy. And vegetarian vegans can also obtain them, but you have to be super careful and do your research to make sure that you are varying the proteins that you are ingesting so that you are for sure getting all 9, because all 9 are important for protein synthesis and preservation of our muscle. Just to chat about sources that give you protein. And this is something that comes up with pretty much every client that I work with. And I also had to do a lot of research on my own to figure out how to increase my protein. So just wanted to run down some options that you might have. And this is sources that give you 30 grams of protein. Some you will have to combine foods to get there. Chicken breast is probably the leanest source of protein that will give you the 9 essential amino acids, and 30 grams, or I'm sorry, 100 grams of cooked chicken breast, boneless, skinless, will give you approximately 30 grams of protein. Then you've got your salmon, your lean beef, Greek yogurt. And one of the ways that I increased my Greek yogurt, although they've gotten pretty clever with adding high protein, there is a new one now. I forget what it's called, but it actually has 25 grams in a cup. I found it at Target actually the other day. But you can also take plain green yogurt and add protein powder to it, which is a nice little trick. You can do the same with cottage cheese. Now, a lot of people don't like the texture of cottage cheese. I grew up eating cottage cheese, so I like it. My mom used to give it to me for lunch with pineapple. So it's really good with fruits, and you can also add protein powder to that. What I also like to do is blend cottage cheese. So it's not then necessarily that weird texture that people don't like as far as cottage cheese is concerned. You know who you are. And if you add the protein powder, and I usually will do a little bit of sugar-free pudding mix just to give it that almost like a pudding flavor. And then I'll add either fruit to that on top, or I'll add some dark chocolate chips and some shredded unsweetened coconut. And that's a nice little treat, actually. And adding the protein powder to both the Greek yogurt and the cottage cheese really does help it be more of a filling meal. As I mentioned earlier, protein is harder for us to digest. Even in a whey form, your body's not going to have to break it down as much as it would meat or any other form of food, but it's still going to run through your body and take longer to digest and just keep you satisfied longer. Tofu is another option for those that are plant-based. And let me slide this down. Lentils, 1 cup of cooked lentils will give you 18 grams. So you would just want to combine that with another source of protein to get to that 20 grams. Additionally, quinoa has protein in it. What you want to be careful with the quinoa and the chickpeas is that they also have a higher concentration of carbohydrates. So just making sure that you are balancing your macronutrients and not taking in too many carbohydrates. Even though they might be healthier, they can tend to be not only carbohydrate dense, but calorie dense. So just be careful with your macros and make sure that it's a well-balanced blend of macronutrients. And again, you could just mix that with other protein-rich foods, make like a quinoa bowl. Chickpeas are also another source of protein, and eggs are definitely a good source. And usually what I do when I'll make myself eggs is, especially in an omelet, because if you don't like just egg whites by itself, if you just use 1 egg and then add egg whites to get to that 30 grams of protein, that's often helpful. And then you can just throw a ton of vegetables in there, so you're getting your protein and lots of nutrient dense vegetables in there. Whey protein shakes. 1 scoop of whey protein powder can give you anywhere from 20 to 25 grams. If you mix that with Fairlife or Ripple milk, you can definitely get to 30 grams or more. That is always a great option post-workout because it's fast and easy, and you definitely want to get that 30 to 40 grams of protein post-workout within 30 minutes. Seitan, which I've never tried before, will give you a decent amount of protein, and that is actually a meat substitute that's made from wheat gluten. So obviously, if you have a wheat intolerance, that's probably not going to be for you, but some plant-based eaters that would prefer to use that instead of some sort of meat product is an option. And there are other dairy options. There is one called TVP, Google that, but it is a plant-based protein that is basically created to offer a protein source. So those are protein sources that will help you get at least 30 grams of protein at one time. If you can focus on trying to get 30 grams of protein at a meal, I think that's a pretty good start. All right, so that leads us to how much do I need? Protein requirements are definitely going to vary based on how active you are, what your health status is, based on your individual goals, and also your age. None of us are probably nursing mothers or pregnant mothers, but we also need to increase our protein for those scenarios too. There is a minimum RDA requirement of 46 grams of protein a day, which in my opinion is very, very low. there have been some studies and some alarmists out there that talk about overdoing the protein, how it can be bad for your kidneys. If you have some sort of dietary restriction or health issue, you certainly would want to run it by your doctor to make sure that it's okay for you to increase your protein amount. But in general, for an active female, you should be taking in anywhere from 0.7 to 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Actually, that should be per pound of body weight per day, not kilogram. Gonna change that right now. And if you are in a fat loss phase, that could be a good range for you. If you are an athlete, you could go up to 2 times your body weight in protein, which is a little insane. Obviously, you're going to be supplementing if that's the case, but it really is dependent on how active you are, whether you are looking to lose fat, whether you are looking to really build muscle, or whether it's a health goal. So really independent of your goals or dependent on your goals. And also, it's super important to make sure where you are now with your intake. So if you're only eating 30 grams of protein in one day and you're trying to get to 100 grams of protein, if you do that very quickly, you could definitely suffer from some digestion issues. So you just need to be super careful about how you're approaching the increase. Going back up, for older adults to counteract muscle loss and support their overall health, even more protein, certainly more than the RDA, is beneficial for that muscle loss. And again, the exceptions would be people that have a medical reason and are required to consume less. There's often the notion that it can increase your cholesterol levels. However, you also have to look at what else is going on with your body at this time. As we are in menopause, perimenopause, our cholesterol does tend to go up, which is why we want to be careful about consuming lean proteins and really watching the fats that we are consuming to make sure that they're coming from healthy sources like nuts and avocados and olives and coconut, those types of healthier fats versus consuming fats from processed foods, because those are the fats that tend to affect our heart. So went a little bit off on a tangent on that, but it's just important to know that some folks identify higher protein with increased cholesterol, but there's also a lot of other things that are going on with your body during this time that could cause your cholesterol levels to go up. So it's also important to make sure that you're eating a wide variety of vegetables and fruits to get your fiber intake and also some whole grains to get that fiber intake to about 25 to 30 grams a day, which will also help offset the cholesterol issues or potential for them. So if you have worked out, lifted weights, been an athlete, you've probably heard about branched chain amino acids. So what are branched chain amino acids? Do I need them? There are 3 essential amino acids that are basically for muscle metabolism and support exercise-related outcomes, and they are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. The functions that branched chain amino acids have are muscle protein synthesis. They do provide energy, and they also help reduce the breakdown of our muscle, which when you're lifting or working out, that's essentially what's happening. And in order to build muscle, we create little micro tears in the muscle fibers that then regenerate through taking in protein, and that's what helps us create additional muscle. if that makes sense. So just some more on BCAAs. As far as timing is concerned, different rules of thought, and this is really based on your individual needs. You can take them pre-workout, especially if you work out early in the morning. So I've started taking them prior to my 6 a.m. workout because I don't like to eat that early in the morning. And I'm definitely noticing that I feel a little stronger and more alert. And I do feel like the BCAAs are making my workouts more effective because I'm able to push myself a little bit harder because pretty much in the morning, the only thing I was having is a cup of coffee. So pre-workout is one option, interim workout or during workout. So if you're taking them, maybe start sipping on them before you work out and you take them through your workout, it can reduce the breakdown of your muscle. Obviously, post-workout, they're going to help with recovery. And then if you have large gaps in between meals and you're looking to maintain a muscle building environment, you can take some BCAAs during that time in between meals. So when would you need BCAAs? If you intensely and frequently are training. So if you're an athlete or you like to do long endurance events or just even like really intense training sessions like high intensity interval training, BCAAs would be a good idea. If you are in a cut or a calorie deficit, then BCAAs could certainly be supportive to you as you are going through a caloric deficit. Again, fasted workouts, I mentioned that above. If you are experiencing long bouts of muscle recovery and long bouts of soreness, BCAAs could help with that. If you are a vegan or a vegetarian, it would help if you are typically not perhaps making sure that you have all of the essential amino acids in your diet. BCAAs could help there. And then just in general, if you are not taking adequate dietary protein in, you can get some supplementation from taking BCAAs. That's all I have. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. I am going to jump in to the Facebook group and just see if there are any questions. And not seeing any. So, like I said, if you guys watch the replay and you have any questions whatsoever, definitely ask. And I am here to answer any questions I possibly can. As I mentioned earlier, protein is one of those things that people just don't really focus on, and they also don't know how to increase it. So the other thing, as far as protein is concerned, that I like to share with my clients is if you can spread your required protein amount out throughout the day, it really will help with balancing your blood sugar, helping you have less cravings, and also keeping you more satisfied throughout the day and just feeling better in general through increasing the protein and stabilizing it throughout the day. So hopefully that is helpful. And if anybody has any questions, as I said, just feel free to post any questions in the comments below and let me know if you need anything. If you're interested in learning more about branched chain amino acids and what products that I like, just hit me up and I can share what I use. So have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.